Hi, my name's Cheese, and welcome to another Bonesweeper progress update video. If you haven't heard of Bonesweeper before, you can check out this other video for an overview, but the TLDR is, it's Minesweeper but fossils. Admin and other non-dev work has kept me pretty busy over the last month or so most of my recent work has been miscellaneous tweaks and small bits of polish. As part of optimizing dig site generation, I wrote a shader to handle tile variation. I wasn't sure whether or not this was going to have a negative impact on lower-end GPUs, but testing feedback has been positive so far, and it more than halves dig site generation time on my system. A couple of weeks ago, I discovered that scroll wheel zooming wasn't working. Bonesweeper does most of its input handling using input.isActionPressed or isActionJustPressed in process and physics process functions, which works fine for everything else, but mouse scroll wheels are a bit special. They're not axes like joysticks or mouse movement, and they're not quite regular button presses either, because they're immediately released and so are never considered pressed in this context, unless something slows down input processing enough that it doesn't get reconciled within one game tick. Scroll events will give correct values for input.isActionJustReleased, but that doesn't really work well for other bindings. Scroll wheels and other momentary actions just need to be special cased, which they are now. Yay. I now hide the mouse cursor when zooming, panning and tilting, so that tiles no longer receive mouse over events. This prevents the lovely buzzing sound that used to happen when the camera is flailing around wildly. Setting the cursor to input.mouseModeCaptured warps its position to the center of the window, so keep track of where it was before the zoom, tilt or pan event started, and then put it back to where it needs to be. I updated how the visual representation of digging works to add a little delay based on how far the dug tile is from the tile that was clicked on, making the dug area expand outward from an epicenter. It's fast enough that it's not really noticeable when digging a few tiles together, but it makes digs that affect a larger number of tiles feel a lot more satisfying and readable. The increase in delay shrinks across large distances so that it doesn't take too long on those huge easy dig sites. Peter has been exploring possible music for the dig phase, and we popped in an early concept to get initial feedback on. It has a lot of qualities that we both like, but we're also feeling like it hasn't quite landed on the correct side or balance of emotional/sentimental versus cerebral/thoughtful. We're planning to do a little more exploration, but I'm feeling confident that we'll have a good handle on the possibility space and what we want to pull out of it. An oversight in how I'd been handling the assembly phase's action mode input led to a fossil chunk's position not being checked when it's moved. This is fine when using the drop shortcut or letting them fall into place, but when manually moving them into place or spinning them into the correct rotation the last second, they just continue falling. It's embarrassing to let a bug like this slip through, but these things happen during every game's development, and it's a good reminder that testing, both automated and with fresh eyes, is important. I've also updated the assembly phase to hide the mouse cursor when holding a chunk in puzzle mode, and finally got around to forcing fossil chunk pivot points to align correctly to the mouse cursor. This was another challenge for my tiny little maths brain, but after wrestling with it for the better part of a day, I was able to get it behaving the way that I wanted. Positional uncertainty caused by parallax is a thing of the past. Assembly mode now has a table that skeletons are put on for assembly if they're below a certain size. Right now that's only the silly Tyrannosaurus, but it'll be nice for proper tiny saws when I add them, and it'll make it easier to keep the player's avatar in frame. Peter composed a full-length music track based on the short concept we heard in the last video, which is now the music for the map phase. I always feel like the moment music goes in, my games instantly become 200% more game, and suddenly the map is exciting and feels like a gateway to adventure. Continuing on from the map phase background work discussed in the last video, I created some new book models and textured them. I was initially going to texture the temporary books which were adapted from Hivetime's map rooms, but the existing UV maps were nonsense, and it was faster to just make a new book mesh and texture that before putting them all in place. To break things up visually, I wanted the low shelves to look like they were filled with journals that changed designs over time, and weren't always put back in the right way round. I put a little more time into my museum editor experiments, and then made the difficult decision to put them aside for now. I learned what I wanted to learn, and with that perspective, I think it's going to be a better use of my time to make a set of pre-made room layouts and focus on implementing other museum mechanics. I might come back to this later once everything else is done, but if not, I think I can be content, if a little disappointed. I've used the map phase music for the main menu as well. We're expecting eventually that there'll be a separate piece of music here, but this helps things flow better for now than just having silence at the main menu would. The settings menu got some attention and now has a vertical scroll bar when needed. Unfortunately, Godot's naive focus behaviour just moves to the next widget outside the scrollable area instead of scrolling to make more widgets visible, so I had to update my settings UI generation code to explicitly define top and bottom focus neighbours. I updated the new game and continue screens to adjust their buttons and avatar previews to better match the window size, so for people who don't run the game in a 1280x720 window, the game looks a little bit more like it's meant to now. There's an in-game progress tracker that I've been using to help communicate to testers where things are at. I realised that I'd overlooked the state of a few aspects for a while, and so everything's jumped forward a little bit. It's mostly cosmetic, but it's really nice to look at this and see a lot more green now. After publishing the last video, I decided to update the little placeholder website I have up for the game, replacing all the old prototype imagery with stuff that reflects the state of this new version. It's still very bare bones, but I'm happy with it for now. A very big thank you to the Patreon supporters going by on screen at the moment. Their support has helped me eat while making this game, and I am so appreciative. In the last video, I used a slightly out-of-date supporters list. Sincere apologies to the following supporters whose names were left out: Leah A. Eastwood, Jimmy Huatori, Moonspod, Jack Slater, and Rex Smeal. A huge thanks also to Screen Tasmania, who supported this project with a small grant at the end of last year. Anyway, that's about it for today. If you'd like to keep track of development, or try the playable prototype, you can find some links in the description. And if you're super keen to try out what we've talked about here today, I make early test builds available to my Patreon supporters. Thanks for watching, and bye!